Thank you for coming out tonight. We're going to get started with our concert. We're so lucky to have Jeff Snow doing his Celtic music. So, give him a round of applause.
Mr. Snow.
You think I've never done this before? Good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight on this wonderful spring night. Yeah. Yikes. Near Bainbridge town in the county Down, one morning last July, down a boarding green came a sweet colleen. She smiled as she passed me by. She looked so neat from her two bare feet to the sheen of her nut brown hair. Coaxing elf had to pinch myself to be sure I was really there. From Bantry Bay to Daddy Quay, from Galloway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet colleen that I met at the county Down. As she onward sped and I shook me head, I gazed with a feeling queer, and I said, says I, to a passer-by, who's the maid with the nut-brown hair? Smiled at me and with pride says she, she's the gem of Ireland's crown. Young Rosie McGann from the banks of the Bann, she's the star of the county Down. From Bantry Bay to Daddy Quay, from Galloway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet colleen that I met at the county Down. I've travelled a bit, never was a hit till my roving career began. Fair and square I surrendered there to the charms of young Rose McGann. I'd a heart to let, no tenant yet did I meet with a shawl or a gown. In she went, and I asked no rent from the start of the county Down. Bantry Bay to Daddy Quay, from Galloway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet colleen that I met at the county Down. At the harvest fair she'll surely be there, and I'll dress in my Sunday clothes, with my shoes shone bright and my hat cocked bright for a smile from my nut-brown rose. No pipe I'll smoke, no horse I'll yoke, till the cow turns rust-coloured brown, and a smiling bride by my own fireside is the crowd of the county Down. From Bantry Bay to Daddy Quay, from Galloway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet colleen that I met at the county Down. Bantry Bay to Daddy Quay, from Galloway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet colleen that I met at the county Down. Thank you. Thank you. you. The first one was an Irish tune called The Star of the County Down, a traditional Irish tune. The second one, hopefully you recognized. If I got most of the notes in the right place, you would have known that as Green Sleeves. We sing it at Christmas time as What Child Is This? It's an old English tune. So we're going to have a trivia contest because you've all heard Green Sleeves hundreds of times in your life. And I have a prize for you if you know the answer to this. The tune Green Sleeves, not the whole tune, but a piece of the tune Green Sleeves made an appearance in a Beatles song. What Beatles song? Time's up. At the period of their lives when the Beatles were kind of morphing from a rock and roll band into whatever it is they became after they were a rock and roll band, when they kind of got into the Maharishi and the psychedelic stuff and all of that, there was a period of time when their music morphed right along with their appearance and everything else. And they recorded an album. One of the songs on the album was All You Need Is Love. And at the end of the song, All You Need Is Love, there was a whole bunch of, it sounds like buses and horns and all this noise going on as the song kind of fades out. If you dig out your copy of All You Need Is Love and you go to the 3-minute and 14-second mark, you are going to find about 4 seconds of Green Sleeves tucked right in the middle of that album. Yeah. Darn, nobody got it. I guess I get to keep the prize one more night. I'm going to tell you some stories tonight. I'm going to play a lot of things that you've never heard before, and this is probably one of them. In the early to mid-1800s in Scotland, there was an event in Scottish history that was called the Highland Clearances. And the Highland Clearances came about when the landowners who owned all of the land up through the middle of Scotland decided that they didn't want the crofters. The crofters were the farmers who had small parcels of land, because these big pieces of land were broken into thousands of small pieces of land called crofts. And the crofts would be anywhere from 2 to 3 to maybe 20 acres. And the farmers would farm or raise animals or whatever they did, and every year they would go back to the feudal landowner and pay him a tax. And they all decided actually at one time that the land was more valuable to them as one big piece of land than thousands of small pieces of land. So they needed to do something about all these pesky farmers that were all over the place. So they rounded them all up, and they took them to the coast, and they put them on ships. And the ships came across the ocean. And some of the ships hit North America up in the maritime provinces of Canada. And some of the ships hit North America down around Wilmington, North Carolina. And those people got off the ship and headed up into the Appalachian Mountains because that reminded them of their homeland of Scotland, the terrain. And that is why to this day, if you go up to the maritime provinces or down to North Carolina, you will find so many Scottish people. That's how they came here. My great-grandparents came over in the Highland Clearances. They didn't end up in either one of those places. They ended up in a place called Tariffville, Connecticut, which is actually part of the village of Simsbury, Connecticut. And they were weavers. They made rugs and woolens and things like that. But like so many things that happened in Celtic history, they wrote it down and made a song out of it. So this is the song of the Highland Clearances. Hush, hush, time to be sleeping, hush, hush, dreams come creeping, dreams of peace and of freedom, don't cry in your sleep, bonny babe. Once our valleys were ringing with the sounds of the children singing. Now sheep bleat late in the evening, and sheilings lie empty and broken. Hush, hush, time to be sleeping, hush, hush, Dreams come creeping, dreams of peace and of freedom. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. We stood with heads bowed in prayer while factors laid the cottages bare. The flames, the fires, the clear mountain air, and many were dead by the morning. Oh, 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 hush, hush, time to be sleeping. Hush, hush, dreams come creeping, dreams of peace and of freedom. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. Where was our proud Highland metal, our men once so fierce in battle, now stand cowed, huddled like cattle, waiting to be shipped o'er the ocean. No use pleading or praying, now gone, gone, all hopes of staying. Hush, hush, the anchor's away. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. Oh, 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 hush, hush, time to be sleeping. Hush, hush, dreams come creeping, dreams of peace and of freedom. Don't cry in your sleep, Bonnie babe. Thank you. We have a couple of wee ones here tonight, and I hope you'll indulge me while I play one for them. Some of you will know this song and probably think that it's an old American folk song, and you wouldn't be wrong because Burl Ives did it, and Peter, Paul, and Mary did it, and all the old folk singers did it. But its genesis is from the 1500s in England. It was an English children's song a long, long time ago, and it got brought over here and kind of morphed into a sort of an American folk song. So this one is for the wee ones. You can sing along if you know the words. Oh, the fox went out on a chilly night, prayed for the moon to give him light. He'd many a mile to go that night, for he reached the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh, many a mile to go that night, for he reached the town, oh. Ran till he came to the great big bin, ducks and the geese were kept therein. He said, a couple of you are gonna grease my chin, for I leave this town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. A couple of you are gonna grease my chin, for I leave this town, oh. Grabbed the gray goose by the neck, threw the little one down his back. He didn't mind their and her legs all dangling down, no, down, no, down, no. He didn't mind their and her legs all dangling down, no. Old Mother Flipper Flapper jumped out of bed. Out of the window she popped her head. She cried, John, John, the gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, no, town, no, town, no. John, John, the gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, no. Johnny ran to the top of the hill, blew his horn both loud and shrill, and the fox said, I better flee with my kill, I'll soon be on my trail, oh, trail, oh, trail, oh. Fox said, I better flee with my kill, soon be on my trail, oh. Foxy ran back to his den. There were little ones, 8, 9, 10, who said, Daddy, Daddy, better go back again, 'cause it must be a mighty fine town, no, town, no, town, no. Daddy, Daddy, better go back again, must be a mighty fine town, no. Fox and his wife, without any strife, cut up the goose with a fork and a knife. They never had such a supper in their lives. And the little ones chewed on the bones, oh, bones, oh, bones, oh. They never had such a supper in their life. Little ones chewed on the bones, oh. Thank you. Long about 1976, a man named Charlie Glendenning was going to get married. And Charlie Glendenning was in 1976 and still is today one of the very best bagpipers you will find in the United States. He is the pipe major for the City of Washington Pipe Band in Washington, D.C., and that's probably our largest, best-known pipe band in the country. He's their lead piper. And he was getting married, and he was marrying a lady who was also in the pipe band, and her name was Paula. And Charlie, like most guys, was a hopeless romantic. And okay, well, I like to plant the seed. You know? We're going to pretend that he was like most guys, but Charlie was a hopeless romantic. So he wanted to do something special for Paula on the occasion of their wedding. So he sat down and he wrote a bagpipe tune. And he called it Moonstar because Moonstar was her favorite stone. And on the day of their wedding, when her father led her into the church, she was on her father's arm, and they opened up the back doors of the church. The City of Washington Pipe Band was lining the walls of the church, playing Moonstar for her when she came into the church. Yeah. Charlie got major props that night. He was all set. So the tune became a bagpipe standard, and you'll still hear it a lot at Celtic weddings and Scottish festivals and things like that. Well, a bunch of years ago, I one of those weird people that actually will listen to bagpipe music in their car as they're driving around. And Moonstar came up, and I was listening to it, and I said, there's a guitar piece in there. I know there is someplace. So I called Charlie, and I said, can I see if I can find the guitar thing? Because when you write a tune, you own the tune. And he said, if you can find it, you can have it. So I found it. This is called Moonstar. Thank you. All right.
That one?
Yeah, that one.
That one looks hard.
What, that one? It is hard. You want to help me? Okay. Well, I'm done. I'll show you how to play it. All right?
You play it the same as the other guitar.
Sort of, but not really. It's, yeah. I'm not really sure how I do this. You know, as you go through life, there's a lot of things that you can do, but you can't think about them when you do them. This is one of those things. This instrument is called an Autoharp, and many of you are of an age where you will recognize the basic shape or being of an Autoharp. They came to America around 1900 from Switzerland and Germany as a zither. and they came over here and they put some chords on them, and they made them into a school teacher's instrument. Back in the days of the one-room schoolhouse, when they had the one teacher who taught all the grades and all the subjects, they needed something for her to do during the musical part of her curriculum. So they invented this thing, and she would put it on the desk. She would get a pick, and she would just kind of strum it and go, twinkle, twinkle, little star. And that worked really well for about 15 minutes, and then it went out of tune. And nobody back then knew how to tune them, so the instrument kind of faded away. It popped back up again in the late 1920s with the Carter family band, and many of you probably remember the Carter family band. Sarah Carter played the Autoharp in the Carter family band, and she got really inventive. She put it up here. And that's where she played, it was up there. Then it went away again, and it came out again in the 1960s as a school teacher's instrument one more time, when the Oscar Schmidt Company decided that it would be a really good idea if we put autoharps in every school in America. So they made hundreds of thousands of these black, ugly, horrible autoharps, and they gave them to every school in the United States. And they all had them. And if you've got, in your town, if you've got any old schools that have been around since the 1960s, go look in the closets. They're still there, because they weren't very good instruments. But they thought if they could give them to all the schools, then the schools would use them, and everybody would learn to play the autoharp, and they would sell lots of autoharps.
Are they really ugly?
Yeah, they're really ugly, and they don't sound very good. And the reason that they don't sound very good, because you're a smart child, the reason they don't sound very good is that this autoharp is like all the other stringed instruments, and that it's basically a box full of air. Guitars and bazookies and autoharps and all these things, inside they're hollow, it's all air. So all the air moves around and everything vibrates, and that's what makes the sound. Well, the black autoharps are just like a slab of plywood with strings on it. So there's nothing to vibrate and there's nothing to make sound. I have a basement full of them if anybody would like them. People give them to me. Oh, you play the autoharp here. So,
It's your black hybrid.
yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do it a different way. And I'm going to try and play all the different parts of the music, the melodies, the rhythms, the harmonies, the bass lines, and all of that. And we're going to give it a go and see what happens. Wish me luck. You hear it? It's still ringing. Isn't that cool? Isn't it amazing how much sound comes out of something that small? Yeah.
That's not small.
That's not small? It's small when you're trying to play it. Okay, the answer to the questions that I get asked are 36 and 12. What are the questions? how many strings? There are 36 strings, and there are 12 buttons. Each button makes a different musical chord. A chord is just a combination of notes. So if I strum just like this, everyone makes a different sound. And the way that it does that is there's little pieces of felt on the bottom of the bars. And when I push the button down, the felt hits some strings and stops them from ringing. And it lets some strings pass through, and those are the ones that you hear. So when I do this, it sounds really pretty, and you don't hear the strings that aren't ringing because it gets lost in all of the sound. But if I go like this, hear the strings that don't ring? And yeah, about half the strings ring and about half the strings don't ring at any given time. So the trick is, when I'm flailing around over here, is to hit the strings that are going to ring and miss the strings that aren't going to ring. That becomes the hard part. And that would take me back to what I said in the beginning. If you watch when I do this, I never look at my right hand. Because if I look at my right hand, I can't do it. I start to think about what's going to happen, start to figure out where my hand's going to go, and I can't do it. So I never look at my right hand. Anytime you see me look down, it's because I'm moving over here and I need to make sure I hit the right button. See if you can spot this one. You notice when I play it that I have it up against my head, and sometimes I look like I'm going to drift off to sleep. And sometimes I actually do. My hope is that if that happens tonight and I wake up, you'll all still be here. They don't just lock me in the Whitman Library and Molly comes to work in the morning and I'm just laying on the floor. There's a reason for that. As pretty as it sounds out there, when I've got it up here, just behind my ear, up against the bones in the back of your neck, the vibration of the wood and the sound, it's a lot prettier here than it is out there, if you can believe that. So here's my promise to you and my offer to you. When the night is done and before I pack it all up and go home, you're welcome to come up here and sit in this chair and put it up against your neck and just sit there and strum away, and you can hear what I hear, because I don't want you to miss the opportunity to hear how pretty this thing really sounds up close.
I'll go sleep here.
Okay. World War II, there was a man named George McIntyre. He was from the hills of Argyll, which is up in the northwest part of Scotland. And George McIntyre, like so many people, decided that he was going to join the army and go off and fight for the Brits in the army in World War II. And he did. So he was in a Scottish regiment, and they got shipped over to Germany. And sadly for George, he got captured and was held in a prisoner of war camp for the duration of the war. George was a bagpiper. So he spent his days in the prisoner of war camp wandering around his confinement area, playing the bagpipe tunes that he knew in his head. That kind of reminded him of home and kind of kept him sane in his own little way. And he wrote a tune while he was there. He wrote it in his head, because he didn't have anything to play it on. And he called the tune The Hills of Argyll for his homeland. And when he went home, after the war, he laid it out in the bagpipes, and it is now another bagpipe standard that you will hear if you go to Celtic festivals and things like that. This is The Hills of Argyll for George McIntyre. It did stop making noise, didn't it? I'm going to put my hand on the strings because the strings stop vibrating when I do that. You having fun tonight? Lucky me. And I waited for you to get here, too. I should have started at 5. I'd have been gone by now. I'm going to play you one more, and then I'm going to just take like 5 minutes just to stand up and stretch my legs out, and you can stand up and stretch your legs out, maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll sit back down and we'll do all this stuff again. I'll probably even play that thing, if I can remember how. But if you're liking the music, there are a couple of things that you can do. There's some CDs in the back, and there's iTunes and Amazon and all of those places. I have no idea what the music shows up or how it even gets there. I just record something and send it to the record company, and it just magically appears on the internet. And they send me a few cents every month, and it all works out. You laugh. iTunes is now $1.27 or something, $1.29 or something like that for a song. I get 37 cents. So the record company gets their cut, and iTunes gets their cut, and the guy that did all the work gets 37 cents. So you figure it out. And if you don't want to do either one of those things, you can just say, hey, come home with me, and I'll sit in your house and I'll play. But then you have to feed me. it's probably cheaper just to go to iTunes or buy a CD or something like that. I want to tell you a story. This is very sad. It's got a little touch of a cold. I've been fighting for a couple of weeks.
I have a cold too.
Yeah. St. Patrick's season is not a good time for me to get a cold. In 1855, a young man named John Hunt left his family home in Ireland and came to the United States. He settled in Aberdeen, Maryland. He got married, got a job, had kids, spent his whole life there, died there, and is buried in Aberdeen, Maryland. He never went back to Ireland. He came here, stayed here, and never went back, never saw his family again. Let's put it in perspective for a moment. When John Hunt came here in 1855, he was 13 years old, because that's what happened back then. So in 1855, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have any of those cool things that we have now. So when you're gone to America, you're just gone to America. And if you didn't come back, you didn't come back, and that was pretty much it. But they had the annual family letter. And every year, John Hunt's father would sit down and write him a letter. And he would tell him the comings and goings of the family, who died, who got married, who had kids, who built a house, all the things that we would pretty much do instantaneously now. You know, you take out your phone and you do this, and everybody that you know knows what you know. This happened annually back then. And every letter ended with a tagline of, "Would you please come home?" or "Why don't you think about coming home? Or we'd like to see you again," or words to that effect. And he never went back. Never, ever, ever went back. Let's fast forward to 1973. And in Aberdeen, Maryland, a young man named Peter Jones was cleaning out an attic. And in an attic, in a shoebox in a corner, all tied up with twine, he found this pile of old letters. And it was all the letters that had been saved all of these years. John Hunt had saved all the letters and had made it into the attic. So Peter Jones took all the letters and he wove them into a song. So this song is the true story of the Hunt family from Kilkelly, Ireland. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1860, my dear and loving son John. Your good friend, the schoolmaster Pat McNamara, so good to write these words down. Your brothers have all gone to find work in England. The house is so empty and sad. The crop of potatoes is sorely infected, a third to a half of them bad. And your sister Bridget and Patrick O'Donnell are going to be married in June. Your mother says not to work on the railroad. Be sure to come on home soon. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1870, my dear and loving son John. Hello to you, missus, to your 4 children, may they grow healthy and strong. Our Michael has got in a wee bit of trouble, I don't think that he'll ever learn. The crop of potatoes is sorely infected, we have nothing to burn. And Bridget is happy you named the child for her, you know she's got 6 of her own. You say you found work, but you don't say what kind. When are you coming home? Kilkelly, Ireland, 1880, Michael and John, my sons. I'm sorry to give you the very sad news. Your mother's passed on. We buried her down at the church in Kilkelly. Your brothers and Bridget were there. You don't have to worry, she died very quickly. Remember her in your prayers. And it's so good to hear that Michael's returning. With money he's sure to buy land. The crop has been poor and the people are selling. at any price that they can. Kilkelly, Ireland, 18 and 90, my dear and loving son John. I suppose that I must be close on to 80. 30 years you've been gone. Because of all of the money you sent me, I'm still living out on my own. Michael has built himself a fine house. Bridget's daughters are grown. And thank you for sending your family picture. They're lovely young women and men. Why don't you think about coming to visit? We'd all love to see you again. Kilkelly, Ireland, 18 and 92, my dear brother John. I'm sorry I didn't write sooner to tell you that father's passed on. He was living with Bridget. She said he was cheerful, healthy right up to the end. You should have seen him play with the grandchildren of Pat McNamara, your friend. We buried him alongside of Mother down at the Kilkelly churchyard. He was a strong and feisty old man, considering his life was so hard. And it's funny the way he kept talking about you. He called for you at the end. Why don't you think about coming to visit? We'd all love to see you again. Thank you, thank you. I promise I won't leave you right there. That last song was cheery, eh? If you are so inclined and you are interested, and because this is a library, some of you I know will be, the 22 letters, I have a transcription of all 22 letters. On my website, the first and last letter, because I can't put all 22 of them up there, but I have the first and the last on my website. If you go to the music page, there's a link to click and it'll take you right to where the letters are. But I have the letters as a whole as a PDF file. So if you'd like to read all of the letters, just send me an email and say I saw you in Whitman and I'd like to read all the letters, and I will send you the PDF file and you can read all the letters. And that's really very cool. It's written in the language and the way they spoke back then, so it's a little hard to wade your way through everything. But it's still very, very cool to do that and to read it. Excuse me. I said I would tell you a couple of things about that song. Because of the letters, I get interest from all over the world. I hear from people from all over the world looking for this file of letters. Because if you go to the internet and you type in John Hunt Kilkelly letters or something like that, for some reason I pop up #1. So people will send me an email. And just last week it was Switzerland, Germany, Australia, Hungary, and someplace else. And then someplace in Western Massachusetts, not far from my house. Back in November of last year, right around Thanksgiving time, I got an email from a man in New Jersey asking for the letters, which is not unusual. So I sent him the letters. And as I do with everybody, I asked, if they would share their thoughts after they've read the letters, just share their thoughts with me. And he emailed me back. Remember Michael Hunt in the song? Michael Hunt, the one that got in trouble, and then he came back and built a house and kind of settled down and all that. It's Michael Hunt's grandson. And he'd never seen the letters. He knew they existed, but he didn't know how to find them. So he had the letters. Now he has the letters. And he had gone to Ireland a couple of years previously and taken pictures of all the family graves and the homesteads and sent me copies of all the pictures. So now I have like the whole Hunt family thing on my computer. I have no idea what I would ever do with it, but it's really kind of cool to have. About 7 years ago, I got a phone call from a gentleman in a town out in Western Massachusetts near where I live. And he said to me, "Are you the guy that knows that song about the guy that with all the kids and they died and all that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, I want you to come to my house and play it. I said, okay. Is there more to the story, sir? And there was. He grew up in an Irish family of 7 children. And 6 of them still lived fairly close, within 50 miles of each other. Mom was still alive. Dad had passed away. Mom was 86 years old, I think, at this point. And the 7th child was the missing son. He disappeared not long out of high school and been gone for about 30 years. He just kind of walked away from the family, didn't contact anybody until that time. And he contacted his older brother and said, I want to come home. And I want to see Mom before she dies. So he brought me to his house. And it was a big, one of these great, big, huge, great rooms you could play basketball in. And he probably had everybody that he'd ever met in this room, because there had to be 100 people in there, and they're all sitting in these chairs just like this. And the mother was sitting right about there, front row center. And I played the Kill Kelly Ireland song like they asked me to do. And because they're all looking this way and I'm looking that way, I'm the only one that can see the back of the room. And I can see the son come in with his brother, come into the room. And while I'm playing the song, they are moving him through the crowd, verse by verse. And by the time, at this point, I'm just trying to hang on and get to the end. I just can't lose this anymore. And by the time I got to the end of the song, they had him right behind his mother. So I finished the song, and I looked at the mother, and I said, Mrs. Kennedy, and she said, yes, and she's crying, and she's thinking about her missing son. And I said, would you stand up? So she stood up. I said, would you do me one favor? She said, what's that? Would you turn around? You ever see an 86-year-old woman in a dress climb over a chair? It was one of the coolest things I ever did, and I'm still trying to scrub that picture. It was really, really cool.
Surprising an 86-year-old person, a real good idea?
In this case, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No, the potential is there for it.
She's 90-something now. She's still alive, as far as I know. Yeah, it was really cool. So every once in a while, stuff happens. I was asked to play this thing again at the break. Some brave soul. We could play the harp thing again. So I will. It's an Irish one. It's called South Wind. Thank you. Can you hear it? It's still ringing. Isn't that amazing? Ian Ruda's Lament is another one of those weird, sporadic old Celtic tunes, and nobody's really quite sure where it came from. I was fortunate enough to get the Boston College Music Library to research it as best they could. And they got it back to the 1500s, but they don't know anything about it from before that. Laments were the tunes that were written when somebody passed on, so Ian Ruda could have been a shepherd, a fisherman, a farmer. Nobody really knows who he was or what he was. But he died, and somebody wrote this tune. I learned it off an old bagpipe record, which was the only recording of it that was ever made back then. The Battlefield Band, if any of you are familiar with the Battlefield Band, they recorded it in the 1980s, and then I recorded it in the 1990s. So to the best of my knowledge, at this point, there's still only 3 recordings of this tune that are out there. The tune is called Ian Ruda's Lament. Thank you. That little part in the middle wasn't Ian Ruda's Lament, but you probably figured that out all by yourself. I stick Scotland and Brave in kind of funny little places from time to time. Ian Ruda's Lament and Scotland the Brave remind me that in 2007, I think it was, I was fortunate enough to do a small thing around Scotland with a couple members of the Battlefield Band, which we mentioned. And the Battlefield Band had recorded Ian Ruda's Lament, and I had recorded Ian Ruda's Lament, and it was very, very cool. And we got to play it together. And one night we had a down night. We were going to do nothing, and they said, "What are you going to do tomorrow?" And I said, "I'm going to go off and I'm going to do my family heritage, because my great-grandparents came from a place called Paisley, Scotland, which is right next to Glasgow." And I said, "I'm going to go over there because I know that in that town they have the records that prove that I was related to William Wallace." So somebody spoke up and they said, "What clan are you?" Because clans are the families. And I said, "I'm a Davidson." And the person said, "Ah, the Davidsons. Ah, we've done all the research on the Davidsons. I can tell you all about the Davidsons." Ooh, this is cool. I said, "So we all were descended from William Wallace, right?" And he said, no, you weren't. And I said, well, when the battle at Stirling Bridge and Culloden and all those places, the warriors, they were all the Davidsons, weren't they? And he said, no, they weren't. And I said, so what exactly were the Davidsons then? He said, the Davidsons, they were notorious cattle thieves. So, yeah. So you get up tomorrow morning and all the cows in Whitman are gone. I can stick them all in the back of my car and off we go. Yeah, kind of burst your bubble to learn something like that. I thought, you know, like the weavers and the people that made all these beautiful tartan things, that my great-grandparents and all that. It was a cattle thief. All right, this is pretty cool. This is the one time in the library when you can make noise and clap and stomp your feet and do whatever kind of sound you want to make right now. This is a really good song for that. It's called Crown the Queen. So you go right ahead and stomp with me and hoot and clap and do whatever you want to do. 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you. And please don't forget, before you leave tonight, sit in the chair and put that up against your head and strum it, and you'll understand what it's all about. Yeah, I hope you do. But you gotta wait for me to finish first, because all these people have been sitting here staring at this thing for like an hour and a half now, and they're waiting for me to play it.
I've been staring at it.
This is a bazooki. A bazooki. There are two types of bazookies in the world. There's the Greek bazooki, which is what most people are familiar with. That's about enough of that. And then this is a Celtic bazooki. This bazooki was made for me by a man named David Freshwater in Inverness, Scotland, about 12 years ago. David Freshwater periodically calls me, just randomly, and he's now 86 years old, something like that. And about 2 years ago, he stopped making instruments. He was a custom instrument maker. And he called me and he said, "I stopped making the instruments." I said, "Why have you done that, David?" And he said, "Because I have like a 12-year backlog. And I realized I'm never going to get to the end of them, so why keep trying?" So he doesn't make them anymore. So this is really cool. If you notice, it's the only thing up here that's not plugged in. I can plug it in, but you'd all go home. It's very loud in a room like this. It's very overpowering. But it's cool. Sounds Celtic, doesn't it? Well, this is the part of the night that I look forward to every night, because this is the part where you get to sing for me. I have been singing for you for a long time, and now you're going to sing for me. My father's name was Donald. His best friend, who was also a Scot, was named Donald. I grew up in a house. All the songs that you heard tonight I learned when I was Finn's age. That's all. The only music that was ever played in my house was the old Celtic stuff. When Donald and Donald got together, they would often invite their third best friend, and his name was Johnny Walker. And they would get together, and Donald and Johnny Walker would get together, and they would put the records on. Remember the records? I still have them. They spin around. And even as a child of that age, I knew when this particular song came on, that it was time for me to take anything breakable and get it out of the way. Push the furniture back, because they would start marching around the house and they'd go hoot. I never quite figured out why Scottish people go hoot, hoot, hoot. But they go. But this is a song about a man named Donald in his kilt, and how he went off to London wearing his kilt. And the people in London had never seen a man from the Highlands of Scotland in a kilt before. They were quite taken aback by this whole thing, and they just marched around the house. So the chorus of this song is very simple. The first part of the chorus is "Let the wind blow high," and I will sing that part. And your part is "Let the wind blow low," right after me. All you have to sing is "Let the wind blow low." Ready? We're only going to practice this once. Ready? Let the wind blow high.
Let the wind blow low.
That wasn't bad. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, "Hello, Donald, where's your trousers?" I just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm no very big and I'm awfully shy. The lassies shout when I go by, "Donald, where's your trousers?" Let the wind blow high.
Let the wind blow low.
Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, "Hello, Donald, where's your trousers?" Well, a lassie took me to a ball. It was slippery in the hall, and I was afraid that I might fall, for I wasn't wearing my trousers. Let the wind blow high.
Let the wind blow low.
Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, "Hello, Donald, where's your trousers?" Well, I went down to London town and I had some fun in the underground. The ladies turned their heads around saying, "Donald, what are your trousers?" Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, "Hello, Donald, where's your trousers?" Well, the lassies want me, everyone. Well, let them catch me if they can. You cannot get the breeks off a Highland man, 'cause they don't wear no trousers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, "Hello, Donald, where's your trousers?" Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies shout, "Hello, Donald, where's your trousers?" Thank you. You're not done singing yet, so I'll give you one song off. Excuse me. I get asked quite often, why don't you ever wear your kilt when you're playing? Would you want to be sitting right there if I was wearing a kilt? You don't have to answer. I got it. That's, yeah. This is an old English song. About a man who went off to sea and was gone for a long time. Back then, the ships went out to sea, and there was no communication. They went out to sea, and sometimes they came back, and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes the ships sank. Sometimes they found somebody they liked better in another country. All kinds of things happened. So the people that they left behind would kind of just stay home and tend the farm or tend the house and just sit there and watch the ocean and hope that someday, years later, their love would come back. Sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. Fair young maid in her garden, strange young man came riding by. Said, "Fair young maid, would you marry me?" This then, sir, was her reply. "No, kind sir, I cannot marry thee. I've a love who sails a deep salt sea. He's been gone these 7 years, still no man will marry me. What if he's died or in some battle slain? What if he's drowned in the deep salt sea? What if he's found some other love? He and his new love both married be. If he's died or in some battle slain, I will die when the moon doth wane. If he's drowned in the deep salt sea, I will be true to his memory. He picked her up in his arms, kisses gave her 1, 2, and 3, said, weep no more, my own true love, I am your love, lost John Riley, said, weep no more, my own true love, I am your love, lost John Riley. Thank you. All right, you've had your song off, now you're going to sing another one. This is an Irish one. Your part is the chorus. I'll do the verse because that's where all the other words are. And the chorus goes like this. Are you ready? I'm only going to do this one time. Ready? Ready, Finn? I'll go slowly so you can get it, okay? Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. That's your part. If you get lost, just look at Molly. She'll help you. No? All right. All right, so you can't do that part. So I'll help you with that one, too. I will sing Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me, and you will sing my father's making me marry Mary Mac. That part you can remember. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. You ready? Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary from my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. Come on, you can do this. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. I'm gonna marry Mary from my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. Well, there is a little lass, her name is Mary Mac. Make no mistake, she's a girl I want to tack, and a lot of other fellas want to get up on a track, and I'm thinking that I'd have to get up early. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I see your lips moving, but don't hear anything coming out. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary for my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. Well, this little lass, she's got a lot of class, she's got a lot of brass, and she's not a silly ass, and her father thinks I'm really this ass, and her father says she treats me really fairly. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary from my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. Come on, I've been doing this almost an hour and a half. You can do this. Well, Mary and her mother go an awful lot together. In fact, I hardly ever see the one without the other. And all the people wonder if it's Mary or her mother or the both of them together that I'm courting. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary from my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary Mac. Mary Mac's father's making Mary Mac marry me. My father's making me marry Mary Mac. I'm gonna marry Mary from my Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be feeling merry when I marry Mary. How'd you do, Finn? Yeah, me too. The goal is to get to the end of the song. We did it.
Why are you going to do that
Why am I going to do this one? Because my mother told me when I started doing this a long time ago, if you're going to carry all those instruments around with you, folks are going to expect that you can play them.
You're like going to do the story exchange song?
The first time that I got paid to play and sing music, I was 15 years old. That was 25 years ago by now. That wasn't that funny. Yeah. So I am forever grateful to people like Molly and to the Friends of the Library of Whitman because they allow me to go around traveling constantly and surviving without having a real job. So thank you, Molly. Thank you to the Friends of the Whitman Library. Yay! Yeah. I'm going to step out of the Celtic mode just a little bit here. And I hope that you will indulge me for one. This is a song that I've been playing every night now for about the last 8 weeks or so. And kind of just because of a special person in my head. The person who taught the Beatles how to sing harmony, and the Hollies how to sing harmony, and all the British bands, all the British bands, and all the people that came up in the 60s and 70s, and even the late 50s, taught them all how to sing harmony with the Everly Brothers. And as you may know, that Phil Everly passed away about 8 weeks ago. And the Everly Brothers did some really cool stuff, beautiful songs. One night I was sitting at home, and when I sit at home, believe it or not, I just sit in my house and play by myself. There's nobody there, I just sit and play. And I play all kinds of things. And I was playing this Everly Brothers song, very sad Everly Brothers song. And I was just thinking, that's a very sad song. And then it struck me that if I wrote new music and used the same words, we could spin this into a happy love song. So for Phil Everly, we're going to sing the happy love song tonight. And this one you'll know the words for, and this one you'll be able to sing with me. When I want you in my arms, and I want you and all your charms, whenever I want you, all I'd have to do is dream, 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 dream. When I feel blue in the night, and I need you to hold me tight, wherever I want you, all I'd have to do is dream. I could make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I'd have to do is dream, 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 dream. Thank you. Wherever he is right now, Phil Everly's probably going, please don't do that again. This has been great fun for me. When you play the Celtic circles over there, it's a little different than what they do here. And when you play the Celtic circles in Scotland, they always end with the same song. Scotland does not have a national anthem yet, but they're voting again to secede from the United Kingdom in the fall. Maybe they'll get it this time. They are part of Great Britain, so their national anthem is God Save the Queen, and nobody over there ever sings God Save the Queen. So they sing a song called The Flower of Scotland. Do you? Then I'll sing it just for you. Do you know all the words? No. I don't either. Darn it, I was hoping you did. Yeah. The Flowers of Scotland is like their unofficial national anthem. And if you go to a soccer game or a club or anything like that, they're always singing Flower of Scotland. Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your like again? That fought and died for your wee bit hill and glen, and stood against him proud Edward's army and send him homeward to think again. The hills are bare now, the autumn leaves lie thick and still. Oh, land that is lost now, that was so dearly held, and we stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. Those days are past now, and in the past they must remain. But we can still rise up and be the nation again that stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Be safe, stay warm, God bless. Enjoy spring.
Can I play a song? Can I play one song? Sure.
Well, we don't know, Jerry. We'll find out in a minute. You can play a song.
Oh, this is an Irish song. All right. Let's see. Actually, this is an Irish song I've heard performed by Irish people, but it could be any group of immigrants. Old Ellis Island was swarming like a scene from a costume ball, decked out in the colors of Europe, on fire with the hope of it all. There my father's own father stood huddled with the tired and the hungry and scared, turn of the century pilgrims, bound by the drink that they shared. They were standing in line just like cattle, poked and slaughtered and shoved, some one desk away from sweet freedom, some torn from someone they loved. Through the sprawling tower of Babel came a young man confused and alone, determined and bound for America, carrying everything that he owned. Sometimes when I look at my grandfather's immigrant eye, I see that day reflected, can't hold my feelings inside. I see starting with nothing, working hard all of his life. So don't take it for granted, say grandfather's immigrant died. Now he walks and stares out the window, but his eyes are still just as clear as the day he sailed through the harbor from a shore on the island of Tears. Now my grandfather's days are numbered, but I won't let his memory die. He gave me the gift of this country and the look in his immigrant eye. Sometimes when I look in my grandfather's immigrant eye, I see that day reflected, I can't hold my feelings inside. I see starting with nothing, working hard all of his life. So don't take it for granted, say grandfather's immigrant died. No, don't take it for granted, say grandfather's immigrant. Aye. Thank you.